So, welcome to our Mars Retrograde Clearing. This is our second Mars Retrograde Clearing. This is January 15th, 2025. Um, I wanted to kind of go back and go back, retrograde energy, and kind of talk about the Mars retrograde again because I feel like I didn't communicate it as well as I would have liked in our first clearing. And I want to go back and talk about it again. And I'm going to be referring to my notes. So you'll see me kind of looking down, looking up, looking down. I'm looking at my notes. And so let's just kind of go over the basics about Mars retrograde. So Mars is the planet of action, energy, drive, desire. Let tie in here. It governs how we assert ourselves, how we pursue goals, how we channel our vitality, our sexual energy. And so when Mars is retrograde, all of that energy that we would normally project out, it gets redirected in an inward way. So we have a reevaluation of our actions. Forward momentum can slow down. It's a period to reassess how we expend our energy, how we are doing things, how we move out into the world, and whether or not our actions align with our true desires. It is a time of inner reflection. So instead of charging ahead, the energy of Mars retrograde encourages introspection. It's a time to look inward, evaluate our motivations, our frustrations, our patterns of behavior. What is really true for you now versus 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago? It can indicate frustrations and delays because projects or plans may experience setbacks. There is a lot of patience that's required during this time, and most definitely adaptability. Um, mm, mm, mm. So, where am I? Just lost my place. Okay. So, it teaches us to approach challenges with resilience and strategy rather than impulsiveness. And I would even correct that a little bit. I would also say not just strategy, but most definitely intuition. I call it reading the energy. So feeling into what's true, what's aligned. We're really going from a deep inner place and then choosing how we want to respond, how we want to move forward. Is it the right time to move forward? It occurred to me today, in a previous session, that the Mars retrograde energy, I want to see if I can find the card. Mars retrograde energy is very much like the vibe of the hangman in the tarot deck. The hangman in the tarot deck represents moving into a time period where we're not really able to take action, or action is not really indicated. We're moving into a very inward process. And it's about surrendering to the flow, surrendering to a higher truth, surrendering to the energy that's present, surrendering and allowing more insight, more information, more clarity, more aha, a deeper level of, it's going to be the last damn card that I pull from this deck. Um, Clarity related to how is my spirit, how is my soul, my higher self guiding me? Instead of trying to move forward with my ego that says it should happen this way. This is logical. This makes sense related to the strategy. This is what I want. I want to go after what I want. It's more about we're surrendering to a process because we are being asked on a deeper level to look at ourselves, our world, how we take action from a different vantage point. And in doing so, we gain a kind of an enlightenment or an aha or a clarity. And that's what that halo of light around the person's head represents. It's like They're being forced to suspend activity and pause and reflect and see things from a different vantage point because there is an awareness that needs to come through. And that's what this energy really, to me, feels like. So instead of charging ahead, we're looking inward. We are evaluating our motivations, our frustrations, our patterns of behavior. This definitely calls for adaptability, but really tuning into our higher self, our intuition. And most definitely, I feel like with the North and the South node shifting on January 11th, South node in Virgo, North node in Pisces. That North node in Pisces means that collectively, this is what we're moving toward. This is what we are trying to embrace and integrate. And that is really about intuition and spirituality and connecting with the energy and understanding things from a grander perspective or point of view. So I think that the strategy does come in, but I think it's really also about really feeling into what's really happening on a deeper level. What are we being called to embody and work with? Moving away from impulsiveness or reactivity is a really great challenge during Mars retrograde. Dealing with repressed anger and conflict. So since Mars rules aggression and assertiveness, suppressed anger or unresolved conflicts could surface. This can create opportunities to address and heal those issues in a more constructive way. The collective impact, so on a societal level, this could manifest as a decrease in outward momentum or shifts in how collective energy is directed. Could result in stalled political movements, reevaluation of leadership styles, or delays in collective goals. So, how do we work with this energy? Pause before acting, reflection, resolving lingering conflicts or frustrations, going into healing old wounds. And certainly, how you respond or react or deal with this energy could give you lots of insight about what wounds may be present that will come up for you for sure. Practicing patience, revisiting our ambitions, refining our strategies, embracing rest. That was definitely me today. Mars retrograde is really an excellent time to replenish your energy, slow down, especially if you have been overextending yourself. So we can emerge from this period with greater clarity, renewed motivation, and a more aligned sense of direction. However, what I want to kind of add in here is that's Mars retrograde, but we have Mars retrograde in the sign of Cancer, which is it's to its detriment. Mars doesn't really do well in Cancer. So it's kind of a double whammy. So Mars is retrograde, but it's also in the sign of Cancer. So what does that mean? It means emotional reassessment. It's inviting us to reflect on our emotional motivations, our unresolved feelings that are coming to the surface, especially around the themes of Cancer. Family, home life, personal security are highlighted. Repressed emotion and frustration, because Cancer has a tendency to hold on to emotions. And when we combine that with Mars retrograde energy, it can lead to suppressed anger or frustration. And suppressed anger or frustration, or a disproportionate expression of anger or frustration for the situation, is what people who have Mars retrograde natally typically have to work with or deal with. That was one of the tips that I picked up from one of the astrologers that I was listening to, and I thought that was really interesting. So it's a powerful time, of course, to address old emotional wounds or patterns that limit your healthy self-expression. Protection versus vulnerability. So Cancer's instinct is to protect and nurture. And so Mars retrograde may prompt questions like, what am I protecting? Am I doing this from a place of fear or love? Am I being overly protective? So this can really bring this Cancer, Mars retrograde in Cancer can really bring an awareness of where your boundaries are. And, often in personal growth work, we talk about boundaries that need to be strengthened, but there might be boundaries that need to be softened a bit. Interesting thing to contemplate. Home and family dynamics could be highlighted. So, issues around family relationships, childhood wounds, old conflicts, unspoken feelings, this could all resurface, which gives us another opportunity for healing, course correction, shifting our emotional self. And then this I feel is so true, motivation and energy levels. So, Cancer is not a naturally outward driven sign for Mars, of course. It's not an outward driven sign anyway. Think about the symbol for Cancer. It's the little crab in its little shell. It doesn't even walk in a direct way, it walks sideways. And I thought that was really interesting to think about. One astrologer was saying, yeah, people with Cancer, like a strong Cancer sun, Cancer moon, they sort of have a tendency to never really approach you in a direct way. They do it in this kind of sideways, very kind of diffused or softened energy, which I thought, oh, that's so interesting to think about, with the people in my life who have a strong Cancer influence in their chart. So during this retrograde, your energy could feel sluggish or inconsistent. There can be a greater focus on internal processing rather than external achievement. So, if for some reason you have been a bit down on yourself or hard on yourself about your motivation, your follow through, your get up and go, you're focusing on your New Year's resolutions, just give yourself a break and know that your energy may really shift from day to day, week to week during this time. So, collectively, we have heightened emotional sensitivity, we have a real family and community focus, and then we definitely have conflict avoidance energies coming up on a collective level. So this could lead to passive aggressive behavior or emotional outbursts. So very interesting. Now, the solutions or the go-tos related to how to work with this energy, honoring our feelings, working on or focusing on healing family patterns, setting healthy boundaries, and practicing patience. Sometimes way easier said than done, which is why we're all here to do this clearing work. So I'm going to focus in today on some of the specific themes around Mars retrograde. And then I have some downloads that I want to do for everyone related to this. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's just get started. I don't know why my lip gloss is here. Let me move this. Okay. And let's get connected in. I want to really feel into everybody's energy and see what's coming through for all of us today. 'Cause this has been a much more inward day. I did I meditated twice today. I just felt like I needed that extra quiet. Um, Normally I'll have, something on YouTube going as I'm moving through the day. I just wanted quiet today. It's like my nervous system really wanted to power down, and I'm powering it back up a little bit with my energy drink at 6:20 p.m. here in Colorado, but I wanted to have a little mental clarity for you all. So let's start with a little prayer. Let me just take a look at sensory deprivation tanks. Yes. Soothes the angry Cancerian energy. Did it on Monday. That is amazing. Taryn, you have a Cancer sun. Wow. Also, Mars and Mercury Cancer? How did I not know that? Yeah, yeah, a power down day. Everything was overwhelming. I've been working with Taryn for a long time. I had no idea. Yeah, assessing myself. Where do I go next? What do I do next? I'm so glad, Mercedes, that you're embracing rest. I don't think in this time period there can be too much rest. But I understand wanting to get your shit together now. Absolutely. Sometimes when this stuff happens, we need to remember that we're in a process. You're in an individual soul-based process. You're in a collective process. There's a family dynamic process going on as well, especially if you are doing healing and you're working with healing ancestral lineage wounds. There's definitely a process. And what that means is that there's a divine timing for everything. And if you feel like it's been difficult to get going or get things moving, you can always ask for extra help from your non-physical team for them to help you get things done in a faster, easier way. I do that a lot. It's very helpful. Sometimes things work themselves out very easily before I even have the opportunity to try to get in there and roll up my sleeves. It's like the solution is already presented before I actually have to do anything, which is great. So let's see if we can bring that theme in, because from a higher vantage point, we've all agreed to be on the planet at this time because it's advantageous to our evolution as a being, doing things that we want to do, expanding our expression, helping others, whatever is a part of our purpose. So we're right where we need to be always. So let's do the prayer. Let's get connected and let's see what we need to shift for everyone this evening. So I just want to invite you to relax your body for a moment. Close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, release it whenever you feel ready. And take a moment and drop your focus from your head to your heart space. So literally just focusing on your heart space. Focusing on your heart space with your mind, using your breath to breathe into your heart space as you inhale. And as you exhale, just releasing any heaviness, any stuck energy, any concerns, any worries. So I would like to call upon and invoke or bring forth the very highest vibration of source energy, which is love, to step into this clearing. I'd like to ask that all of the beings who are working with us come forward with ease, that any negative or limiting themes, challenges, choices, or programs that need to be clear easily and effortlessly, that I remain neutral and clear on your behalf. And so it is. So the first thing I want to do is let this person in. First thing I want to do is ask to connect my self committee with your high self committee. Want to know if I'm working with myself, listeners, high self, or both. Nobody. We have a block to receiving. There's an energy here of avoidance of others, doom, energies of paranoia, disappointment, avoidance of others again, suffering, energies of rejection of self through judgment. Let's clear it all out now. All the levels, all the layers. So let me ask again, myself, listeners, high self, or both, what else is blocking us from receiving? It's an energy of rejection of self. Where is that coming from? This is an ancestral lineage energy. For most of you, it's father side. For some of you, it could be mother side. Wherever it's coming from, we're going to release it. Why do we believe we need to reject ourselves? Or why does the lineage believe that? It's an energy of judgment. Judgment's supposed to shore up or strengthen what? Action. If I judge myself, whip myself, hard on myself, frustrated with myself, reject myself, I'm going to force myself to take action, whether it's from a place of shame or guilt or even anger. So let's release that, because that's an old, arduous, frustrating way to take action. We're going to clear all insanity programs related to that. Okay, good. So now myself, listeners, high self, or both. Who am I working with on my side, your side, links and beings, and myself? So some of you, let's clear, elevate, educate, high self committees, our non-physical team. What are they running that is a match to our programming? Frustration, frustration, frustration. Clear it all out now. What else is anyone running that is blocking high self committee? Anything for our non-physical team? Anyone who needs a new team, needs a new high self committee? Let's clear, remove, replace, elevate, educate, bring in a new team. Clear to the highest levels of consciousness, on and off the charts. Make sure everybody's minimum size for maximum effect. Give everybody a boost. Links and beings of myself for you. Does anyone have any openings, holes, rips, tears, discarnate, separates, entities, attachments, vortex, portal energies, mazes, looping, revolving doors, hidden beings, hidden levels? To what degree is everyone grounded in their body, their life? Any blocks or interferences? The lowest level of consciousness for anyone on my high self committee, my soul on your behalf. Your high self, lowest level of consciousness for anyone on your high self. So some of you, your high self committee is still knocked down. What are we clearing? Clear despair. Clear collective consciousness programs of defeat. Clear collective consciousness programs of insecurity, anxiety, shock, and energies of overwhelm. Okay, what else? So let me look again. Lowest level of consciousness for anyone's high self committee now. Good. And then any other blocks or interferences, where's the soul's consciousness? So your soul's consciousness or level of awareness, everybody I think is up there. Let me do it one more time. There we go. My ego, your ego. Let's just clear all of us of any negative attitudes, attachments to the outcome. So I did receive an email from someone who signed up for these clearings, and he wasn't able to be here this evening, but he said, hey, could you clear around tension that's held in the body, particularly from past trauma, that seems to really be coming to my attention now? And I thought, well, that's a great thing to clear, because we're talking about this internalized anger, this energy of emotion that may be stuck in our system, or that we may be getting present to, that's been stuck in our system. And so how might we experience that? Well, one way we may experience that is through tension or pain in our body. So where are we holding tension or pain in our body from stuck emotional energy, from anger, from trauma, from frustration, from this Mars retrograde? So I'm going back to the physical charts. I want to clear programs for everyone's digestive system. Let's clear programs for your skin, programs related to low energy. And then I want to apply a healing from gate 2 of the power symbol for everyone relating to the release of a low energy, a lethargy, a fatigue. Let's bring in a healing from gate 4 of the power symbol to heal the digestive system. Let's bring in a healing from gate 1 for our skeletal system, bones. I want to clear any psychic wounds through the skeletal system for everyone. Gate 15, the I'm sorry, not the cardiovascular, the respiratory system. Let's bring in a healing for the respiratory system. What else? Anything else? Give everybody a boost. Where else are we holding tension in our bodies? So occipital ridge, where the muscles of the neck connect to the base of the skull. Occipital ridge, let's clear overwhelm, clear energies of worry, clear energies of anxiety and frustration, and clear suffering. One thing I noticed like years ago when I was living in Boston, I had this really great, like more open-minded than even regular chiropractors kind of chiropractor. And I noticed, I started to study astrology around that time more in depth because I was working in a corporate environment and I was really bored. So I picked up studying astrology. And what I noticed was that whenever there was some kind of a big astrological shift, my neck would kind of go out. I would need an adjustment. It was really interesting. And so I noticed that as energy is shifting with this Mars retrograde, I've needed more adjusting for my neck than I normally would. I usually go like every 2 weeks. So that's been kind of interesting as well. Just curious if anyone else has noticed that for themselves in your own life, how our body, our nervous system responds to the energy around us. I want to download everyone with freedom. I want to bring in freedom for your physical body. Yeah, lots of head pressure. Very interesting. Let's bring in the positive expression of sincerity, confidence, love of self, balance. Headaches, which I rarely get. Very interesting, Kathy. Yeah, headaches. Let's bring in vitality and worthiness. So what is going on for us with maybe neck, head, pressure, headaches? What are we talking about? This is that energy that's turned inward. And so what is that creating? There's tension, there is pressure. It's really related to frustration, but not necessarily just yours. It could be that you're picking up on collective frustration or frustration just from those around you. Energies of defeat, insanity, overwhelm, can be difficulty focusing. What else related to head pressure? What about issues related to ribs? They're saying this is why we were doing the healing for the skeletal system. Anything else about the ribs? What about pain in the ear, which again is back to the head area, dry eyes as well. This is energy of hardship, self-sabotage programming, defeat, again, an overwhelm energy. Let's clear it for everybody. We're going to clear this from the physical body, energy bodies, and all minds connected to the soul. What else related to physical body? Tension in the body. So things that can come up related to Mars retrograde in Cancer. So specifically, where are we running a tendency toward conflict avoidance? Fear of confrontation that's leading to bottled up emotions. Frustration, 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 blaming self, overwhelm, exhaustion, defeat, trying to rationalize it or make it okay in our mind because we're trying to avoid the conflict or the confrontation. So let's release that. Where is anyone holding a fear of confrontation? Clear insecurity, clear energies of paranoia, clear despair, clear hardship, clear toxic shame, and clear overwhelm. Just going to let that unwind. That's still going. Okay, what else? Clear blocks to freedom relating to our ability to engage in confrontation or conversation. I'll call it empowered conversation. Where do we have blocks to empowered conversation? Where do we have blocks to expressing how we feel? Panic, 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 panic. So this is coming from childhood wounds. What's the issue? Blocks to freedom, blocks to freedom of expression, blocks to enthusiasm, faith. Blocks to faith in your ability to accurately express how you're feeling. Even they're saying even when you do have the gumption, the drive to express how you're feeling in a conflicting situation, there can even be additional self-censoring or not really saying the full truth of what you'd really like to say or how you feel. So there's a program of defeat. There's an energy of helplessness related to this, and avoidance of self, true feelings. Let's release it. Still going. I'm going to let that unwind. Yeah, so this may definitely be related to some of our old people-pleasing patterns, experiences from earlier in life where we had to walk on eggshells around others, we had to tiptoe around others' moods in order to be or feel safe. So where do we feel unsafe when it comes to empowered conversation, aka confrontation? It's a program of feeling separated from others, feeling separated from our emotions, an energy of rage, overwhelm, disappointment, guilt. Clear it. So for many of us, and I will definitely include myself in this, there's a real challenge with expressing anger anyway. So this time period, this Mars retrograde time period may be a real gift in terms of getting connected with or present with the anger that has been there or that's been repressed or pushed down that needs expression. Now, does that mean that you need to, call somebody up or email somebody and, let loose on them? No, it might mean that you utilize things like journaling or I do a lot of voice notes. Like when I'm in the bathroom putting on my makeup, I'll get like these downloads or I'll have an awareness and I'll ask Siri to take a note. Um, so things like that. It's like getting clear about it, going into it, working with it, having a dialogue with it, understanding where it's coming from. What created that anger? What is it that you have never been able to say or express that your being really wants you to hear and understand and know? So where do we have blocks to working with our anger? Well, for most of us, I'm hearing, all of us, there can be a lot of shame related to our anger. So this could be a few different things. This could be that you were shamed whenever you did show anger. Could have been emotionally immature adults that you grow up around who couldn't handle it, that you were there to meet their needs. And Shannon said there's nothing like shooting practice in the army. Totally. That would be a really interesting retreat, wouldn't it? Is to take a bunch of recovering people pleasers out for target practice and just let us unleash. That would be a really cool retreat. Um, so you may have had people around you where you felt like, you were a parentified kid. You were kind of forced to take a parent role to be an adult too soon. Your anger, your frustration was not received well or appreciated, or you were shut down. I know for me, when I was a kid, if I expressed my anger, I would get stonewalled. So I'd get the silent treatment, sometimes for weeks, by one of my parents. It's, there are messages that you receive when those types of things happen, right? You're not allowed to be angry. If you are angry, you're not going to get your needs met. You're going to be rejected, you're going to be abandoned. And so anger becomes this thing that it's like you absolutely cannot express because it could create more problems than it feels like it's worth in that time. I like Rage Room. That's a great idea. Drag racing, those little cars at a drag racing track is also great for that. That is great. I'm getting like a whole retreat vibe here. Working with anger, releasing anger retreat. What else around this? Let's clear all separation from our feelings, separation from our anger. Let's release it. Where do we have vows, contracts, oaths, agreements, obligations to block, deny, or repress our anger? 225 lifetimes for this group related to hardship. So let's clear it. I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years who are involved in spirituality, spiritual healing, who most definitely do a spiritual bypass on their anger, their shadow emotions, judging those as not evolved or that's ego. So we want to, just throw that away, ignore it, rise above it. it's probably one of the most important things that I work with in my one-on-one sessions with clients, especially in the form of like a 3-month or even 6-month package, is that we dive into that shadow stuff to liberate it so that you can really feel connected to your truth. That stuff needs to have a voice, even if it's just for you. So let's clear any programs of greed for validation, blocking us from the connection with our anger, our feelings, our truth. Let's clear frustration with others, and let's clear exhaustion. And where are we holding a belief that it's just not worth it? It's too much trouble. It's just too much of a hassle. It's too draining. Clear suffering. Yes, Shannon will be free for retreats once she has help watching her baby girl. Yes, absolutely. Let's clear blocks to freedom and receiving. What else? So now let's go forward. Where else are we running fear of confrontation, bottled up emotions? What about struggling with asserting our boundaries without guilt, without fear, without shame? Insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. This is a mother's lineage pattern, particularly coming up. It's around hardship, frustration, overwhelm, rejection, defeat. Clear it all out now. Where else do we have blocks to asserting our boundaries without guilt? What about overprotection? So, anger that stems from feeling overly responsible for others. Can anybody relate to that one? Let's clear insecurity, helplessness, defeat, responsibility that's acting as a negative motivation to either limit your expression or where you may have a pattern of taking responsibility for others as a way to control or manipulate the situation with a secondary benefit of feeling safe within that situation. So if I take control of it, if I take responsibility for everything, then I get to control it and keep myself safe. It's a very common pattern. So where are we clearing or bringing in anything related to that? Let's bring in freedom from that. Let's bring in love of ourselves, relaxation, healthy responsibility, responsibility that has healthy boundaries, clarity about what we're actually responsible for. Let's clear blocks to trust, trusting ourselves. Let's clear blocks to love of self. Any place else where we are running an energy of taking on responsibility for others that is out of alignment with our truth, with our health, our well-being. What about resentment toward those who depend on us or maybe demand too much from us? So let's clear the restlessness, the energy of insecurity. Let's clear hardship. Let's clear overwhelm, and let's clear cruelty to ourselves. Just going to let that unwind. Where do we have blocks to creating healthy boundaries with people who would really demand too much or really not have a healthy sense of what's appropriate? No blocks. Where are we running guilt or fear regarding creating boundaries with others? Clear abuse of ourselves, overwhelm, energies of appeasement of others to keep the peace or to try to create harmony. Let's clear hardship around that and all programs of panic. Unconscious unhealthy cords with the mother, where there's a mirroring her health issues on an energetic level. Oh, that's a good one. You know what that is typically is it's where you're acting as a guardian angel energy, like a healer energy for mother. And so this can happen with anyone, actually. It's where we will tend to try to clear or heal people with our own energy. Because we, again, feel a sense of responsibility. So let's take anyone who's holding this vow, contract, oath, agreement, obligation, act as a high self guide or guardian angel for mother, father, anyone else in their life. Want to clear all of that. Let's burn that root branch and seed to infinity. remove it from our Akashic records, all the bodies and minds that make up the soul. Let's pull our energy back from anyone in our life where we have been doing that, pull their energy back from us. What do we believe will happen if we release those kinds of roles with other, mirroring their energy, their health stuff, which is actually about trying to clear, heal it with our own being? That there's going to be exhaustion, insecurity, isolation from that person, an energy of the exhaustion is about what? The responsibility. So clear it. Any toxic streams, webs, cords, psychic hooks? No. Where does anyone believe that they are responsible for healing others in their life with their own energy? There's also another type of role where it's a martyr program. So let's clear any martyr programs, savior programs. Usually, those experiences, you can trace them back to typically past life experience where you believed you harmed that person. And there's an energy usually of unforgiveness or guilt or both held on self. And then it's like the soul made this kind of agreement or decision. I'm going to move forward, and in subsequent lives, I'm going to try to clear or heal or take responsibility for that person because what happened to them in this life that was really negative or seemingly negative was my fault. And so it's usually can get traced back to unforgiveness held on self, which is a wonderful thing to clear because unforgiveness held on self as well as guilt always create these kind of unconscious crappy beliefs that we deserve to have bad things happen to us, or we deserve to be held back in life to take care of others. I mean, we can create all sorts of interesting narratives related to that. So on that note, where are we holding unforgiveness on ourselves? Is an imprint of a program of unforgiveness held on self from a past life. This is a part of a group or community. The unresolved energies are frustration, 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 helplessness, exhaustion, suffering, and energies of subservience with others. So let's release it. Let's give everybody a boost to let that go. So what can happen energetically in relationships like that is that we start to view that person as a helpless victim who can only be saved or healed by us. That keeps us in the relationship and the dynamic. And of course, this is unconscious, it's not a conscious thing, although sometimes it can become conscious. And then there's this dependency, over dependency, codependency theme that's formed with that connection. So what's the truth? That everyone that is in your life, everyone that you're connected with, they all have wisdom, light, understanding, ability to heal self, connection with the divine. They all have their own guides, guardian angels, team working with them. So it's really great to release that for self because it can get really heavy. So let's clear separation programming and let's clear defeat. And of course, if you're in a relationship like that, in a relationship where, with mom, it doesn't mean that you abandon that person, but you recalibrate and you develop a healthier boundary system with that person and start to let go of any kind of savior energy. So let's clear blocks to freedom, pleasure, balance, energies of harmony and love. I most definitely can understand and relate to that from my own experience. And let's clear blocks to success. So anything else there, any place else where we would run resentment, frustration, and then guilt and shame to keep us in those relationships where someone is overly dependent or demanding too much from us. Or maybe they want to cast themselves as the helpless victim who needs to be saved. I keep hearing the term learned helplessness is another one. Right. My mom's idea of relationship is no boundaries. Yeah, I get it for sure. Um, and of course, that was probably her mother's idea of relationship. So, what else do I need to clear or bring in or know or do or look at? What else am I downloading? Bring in freedom, bring in balance, bring in vitality, bring in health, bring in life. Okay, good. What about emotional defensiveness, where we would react aggressively or we would shut down when feeling emotionally vulnerable? So let's clear worry, clear isolation, clear hardship, and clear defeat. What else? Anything else? Anything remaining? Any place else where we would feel like we need to be aggressive or we need to be like hyper proactive, or we just shut down and withdraw when we feel vulnerable? What gets activated for us when we feel emotionally vulnerable? Frustration, 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 helplessness, self-pity, panic, energies of hardship and defeat. Let's release it. Anything else for us related to being or feeling emotionally vulnerable? So just know that if you do put a comment in the chat and I expand on it, that it's never me trying to call you out or tell you that you're screwed up or that you're running some crazy pattern. I'm just taking these comments and I'm kind of running them through my healer filter, thinking about the roots of a lot of these patterns, because patterns really do have roots, they have similarities. And so I'm kind of bringing that forward. I'm using your comments as an example to kind of bring it forward and unpack it and look at what it could be. And of course, the only way that we would know what it really is for you from your perspective is if we did, a session, or you worked with a healer. It doesn't have to be with me, worked with anybody to really go into it and unpack it. Um, Anything else related to that? So let me download freedom, freedom, freedom. So we have a theme today. Where do we have a block to freedom? Let's clear blocks to freedom, clear blocks to empowerment through freedom, clear blocks to comfort, love of ourselves, balance, peace, and manifesting. Yeah, clear it all out. Absolutely. What else? My mother-in-law is doom and perseverating on the negative outcomes around her. Yeah, that's really challenging. So when someone is like a doom and gloom or they're really hooked into negativity, that can feel really, it can be destabilizing. It can be exhausting. It can be grating on your system. Let's clear energies of hardship around that. Clear defeat, clear energies of abuse and overwhelm. Okay, anything else there? So there's definitely kind of a mother theme coming up today in the comments, which is really cool. So let's do it this way. What do we believe we have to experience through the energy of mother? Rejection, rejection, rejection of self. Energies of abuse of self. Energies of sadness, overwhelm, energies of negativity. There's a martyr program here. There's a savior program. There's a fear of change. There's helplessness. Let's release it. Let's give everybody a boost. Let's clear anybody from believing that they need to act as a high self guide or guardian angel for mother. Do I have that chart? Where is that chart? Right here. So what am I clearing here? So do we have programs related to mother energy, mothering ourselves, where there is a block or a limit to our expression, or areas of life? Areas of life. What's the block to areas of life? Blocks to control and power in life. Blocks to creativity, self-expression. Let's release it. Give everybody a boost. What else around that? Any other issues, themes, challenges, choices, or programs? Any place else where we are running this resentment, the overprotection, the anger, taking on too much responsibility, blocks to freedom? What about reacting aggressively or shutting down when we feel emotionally vulnerable? What about difficulty receiving constructive criticism due to emotional sensitivity? So I don't even want to put it as constructive criticism. What about where we just have difficulty receiving feedback from someone based on their subjective observation of us? It's an energy of defeat, so clear it. So what I'm getting about that is somebody's giving you feedback. It's their perspective, their point of view, right? They're running your behavior, how they experience you, how they perceive you through their own filters. And so the feedback may be helpful, or it might just be their issue, right? So the determining what's true is important. And how would we determine that? It's self-check-in. So what are we clearing? Clear greed for approval from others. Clear greed for validation that would make us want to bend and contort and appease someone else. Clear abandonment of self to appease others. Clear self-doubt, panic, energies of hardship, and energies of helplessness. Anything else? Okay, let me go over here. Let's download freedom in that experience, self-forgiveness, order, and bring in energies of gratitude. Yeah, just because somebody has a criticism doesn't mean they're right. They could have completely misunderstood or misconstrued what you were saying or doing. And so where do we immediately make ourselves wrong and make other people right? Clear energies of hardship, abuse of self, paranoia, and panic. Anything else there? Where do we feel hypersensitive to other people's perspectives or points of view? Clear injustice, clear victimization, persecution, confusion, insanity. Let's release it. Anything else about that? Anything else to bring in? Anything more to do? Let me do some downloads because I want to bring some of these energies in. So when we do downloads, just to remind you, especially if you're listening to this recording down the road, what's happening when we do downloads is that I'm asking you if I can download your being with creator or source or God or the divine or goddess or nature or higher intelligence with that perspective or point of view relative to the download. And so when we do downloads, what happens is I'm watching that come in on a quantum level. So bringing that energy in through all levels of your being, all the cells of your body. We're trying to reprogram the subconscious. Now, what could block a download from fully coming in and being activated in your system is if you just have a lot of beliefs on a subconscious level that are in opposition to the download, where your subconscious believes that the opposite or a different way of being is somehow serving you. However, just bringing in the download can help you to repattern. So this is sort of like if you did affirmations, like turbocharged affirmations. We're just bringing it right in so that you don't have to keep, trying to affirm it. We're just bringing in and repatterning your system. So all that's necessary for downloads is that when I say, would you like this download? You say yes out loud. So it's audible to you. I don't have to hear you. When you say yes out loud, it teaches your subconscious, okay, we're opening up, we're receiving this, a change is happening. So would you like to know what it feels like to honor your anger as a sacred and powerful emotion that's guiding you to truth and self-awareness? Would you like to know that you can express your anger in ways that are clear, constructive, and respectful? that your anger is a messenger that's helping you to identify where change is needed in your life, that you can express your anger in a healthy and empowered way without harming or abusing others. Would you like these downloads? And so just say yes. I'm going to go all the way up and connect in at the level of source. Just going to watch this flow in through all levels of your being, all the cells of your body, all areas of your life. Can we download your being with what it feels like and how, from the perspective of source energy, to identify and work with your anger in the highest and best way, in the healthiest way for you? If you would like that download, just say yes. And can we download your being with what it feels like and how to live your day-to-day life without fearing your anger or other people's anger? If you would like that download, just say yes. Okay. Can we bring in the understanding from the perspective of source that you are in control of your emotions and that you can choose to express them with intention and care? That it's safe for you to acknowledge and express your anger. It does not define you, but it guides you. And that through expressing your anger, you can create opportunities for growth, for deeper understanding, for deeper emotional connection with others. If you would like those downloads, just say yes. This is coming in more like a shower of light. Good. And then can we download your being that it's safe, it's possible, and you're allowed to trust yourself to use anger, to work with anger as a force for positive transformation and deeper understanding with others. If you would like that download, just say yes. And then let's bring in some downloads related to boundaries. So, would you like to know it's safe, it's possible, it's easy, and you're allowed to honor your needs by setting clear and loving boundaries? That boundaries are an act of self-love and self-respect, and you are worthy of both. That is safe for you to say no when something does not align with your well-being. That you can create space in your life for what nourishes and supports you by honoring your boundaries. If you would like those downloads, just say yes. Just going to watch that flow into everybody's being. Would you like to know that your boundaries allow you to show up authentically in your relationships? That you can trust yourself to recognize and communicate your limits with love, with confidence, and with clarity? That setting boundaries strengthens your relationship with yourself and others by fostering respect, mutual respect. That you are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. They are there for your well-being. If you would like those downloads, just say yes. Good. And then would you like to know that you always have the power to adjust your boundaries as you grow and evolve? And that every time you honor your boundaries, you are reinforcing your self-worth, your love for yourself, your inner strength, but also you're reinforcing that you have respect for your relationships. Because when you're communicating your boundaries, there's a vulnerability there. You're really letting people know who you are, and there's a certain amount of respect for the other included in that. And so if you would like those downloads, just say yes. And watch that flow in. And let's just download everyone in this Mars retrograde clearing group with unconditional love. I want to bring in some extra unconditional love for everyone's heart space, nervous system. And what that looks like in the download is just like this soothing energy of water just flowing through your nervous system, your heart space, bringing in nourishment, healing energy, love, compassion, energy of transformation. So let me apply the mop up. Let's clear the 9 stacks. Does everyone's soul agree they're cleared of programs, Does everyone's high self agree? Does my high self agree? Has everyone's soul been clear to the highest levels of the new paradigm? Any programs coming up to be cleared? Is everyone's soul free? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Which one are we doing? Number 5. So I'm going to pull some cards just to get a final message. From now till next Wednesday, our next Mercury retrograde clearing, what do we need to know from now until next Wednesday when we meet again? One more. What is it that we need to know, please, Spirit, from now till next Wednesday? What do we need to kind of reflect on? Nice. Okay. So it's funny because earlier we were talking about, moving out of mental, intellectual strategy more to intuition. But what I'm hearing about this is we're being guided forward. There is a pathway, there is an unfolding, even though it feels like forward movement or forward progression as usual is on pause. There is another type of plan that's playing out. And so what they're saying here is your soul does have a strategy. There is a strategy related to everything that's unfolding right now. And it's really about bringing you back into alignment with your heart space, with your inner truth, your inner knowing. So heart energy, heart space energy is really highlighted right now. That there could be storm warning, there could be bumpy energy, emotional highs and lows, feeling internally kind of stormy, noticing that stormy energy in others. And so the idea here is that you're bringing yourself back into alignment in your heart space, feeling into what's true, feeling into what you really need in order to move through these experiences with greater clarity, greater understanding. And so what is this all moving us toward? Deeper connection with family, deeper connection with people in our life who are maybe like a secondary family, or we might call them soul family. Moving into greater alignment with being able to receive and give love within a family. But really what I'm hearing is for some of you, you're going through a process of connecting in with more people who feel like your soul family. So there's a lot of healing that's taking place related to relationship, community, connection, people who feel like a family, soul family. And remember, you have soul family in spirit who are showing up as guides, who are showing up as guardian angels, who are showing up to help support you. So ask is what I'm hearing. Ask us for help, ask us for support for the most mundane, ridiculous things. Bring in your team, bring in your spirit support with everything, every little thing, and all the big things as well. There is so much support for us. We just need to keep asking and receiving, asking and receiving. Don't put it all on your shoulders in terms of action. And just one more thing, patience. Having more patience with yourself. I don't get that you guys have a lack of patience for others. It's more about patience with self. Releasing or being easy about these expectations that you have on yourself about what you're supposed to get done or what you have to get done. You just show up every day and do the best that you can, and there will be a lot of grace and a lot of synchronicity extended to all of us. So I hope this has felt helpful and that you feel more relaxed in your being and that you feel like you've just released some heavier or denser energies. I'm sending you all lots of love and thank you so much for participating in the comments. It's super helpful. I appreciate all of you and I'm so glad that you're here on this journey with me. So take care of yourself and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.